Albert A. Wall, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 234 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor and temporarily Damon.
Very temporarily. I'm going to go on record and say that Tom cannot truly be a New York Giants fan if he's going to schedule the podcast during the first game with the Giants, Dallas.
To be fair, it was the only time it could be done.
Hey, listen, dude, a fan's a fan, I feel like, man. But, all right, so listen.
Okay.
No, football's a thing. Being a fan is a fan.
I get that,
Either
but I
you're a
mean,
fan
literally,
or you're not a fan,
it was
man.
either that, it was either now or no podcast this week, so.
No, dude, we would have made it work another time. Anyway, that all being said, I am here to go over the important news with my opinion, and then these guys can tell you, I guess, their opinion after the fact. So, skipping everything else. All right. So let's see, right into the meat.
You're just skipping everything and going to
everything, going right to the meat. I mean, I think the Luminous, the Symphony of Us, I don't think man, it sounds cool, but I'm just not a nighttime entertainment sort of person. So I don't think I don't really think I care about that. So the Figment beginning to greet guests at EPCOT, it's okay, but what I think is happening is that, so this is, starting at EPCOT again. I think the problem is they're making too big of a deal about this. Like, okay, so what? Like, I mean, I like Figment and that's great, but again, like they're making a big deal. Like this is some huge thing. Did
you see the lines today, David?
I mean, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. It's
there was apparently like a 5-hour line today.
there can be, but that's not going to continue to last.
No.
Again, those people, what are you doing with those pictures? You're not doing anything with them, man.
Character pictures, man. So, like, I
mean, even if you're into character pictures, this is nothing. It's a character. So what? Like, I like that it's Figment, but dude, it's not that big of a deal. The Celebration Network at EPCOT opening is nice, right? Finally, we'll get everything down. I think it's going to make EPCOT look like it should.
Yeah.
Like it should have back, a long time ago. I think those walls have been up so much, it almost feels like that's EPCOT, honestly.
Yeah,
but
EPCOT's the park of walls right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so with all that done, I think it'll be nice. But again, there's nothing, it's not like that's a big deal. I mean, the Moana stuff, the Journey of Water, kind of being in that area is cool, but that is a little bit different. Like, again, these are two line items. And again, it's really one line item for me. The Journey of Water, I think it's going to be really neat. I think it's going to be great where it's located, being able to walk through it. It's not a ride, but it's okay. Like I like water, right? So I like that. It doesn't fit there for me. It just doesn't fit in EPCOT, but that aside, I'm okay with that. But here's the interesting piece for me. Test Track being reimagined. I like that because I love the original Test Track. And I was kind of like, on the newer one. Listen, I just like that OG one. So if they're taking inspiration from that to make the new iteration of Test Track, that's wonderful. They're
going before even Test Track, though. They're going back to Worlds of Motion, which was not a fast ride.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, it's still the rides. It's still the ride is the ride. So
sure.
This is all sounds interesting, but it is not what is needed right now in terms of, this is not competing with anything that's happening in the rest of Florida. So,
well, I don't think I don't think they were trying to with any of these announcements. Like, I don't think.
But then when are they going to? That park's going to be open in sooner rather than later, and they have nothing going on.
I mean, they just aren't ready to. I mean, we'll talk about it, but
so let's see. We have Country Bear Jamboree. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time either, so I get it. Like, the nostalgia factor makes me sad, but at the end of the day, that's fine that it's changing because no one was going to it, right? Like,
I mean, it's not getting a full removal and redo.
No,
right? Like that's probably the best case scenario.
Yeah, that's the best case scenarios, right? Because because you remember a couple of years ago there was a rumor they were going to replace it with like a Toy Story show or something.
Yeah, so I mean, this is from the nostalgia factor. You're right. That's probably the best they could do, but. Okay, cool. This Hatbox Ghost is just like, dude, who cares? Like, it has been like, this is not an announcement. Like, this the Hatbox Ghost show, like, this is dumb. Like, I have no, I don't know. I'm disappointed in the announcements. Like, they're making this like this is such a big deal. This is all stuff, they've been hinting at, or we knew about, or we heard about before. The only thing in here, in this little section that you're talking about that's of interest, is this Caribbean-themed lounge coming to Adventureland, right? That's going to kind of carry on that Pirates of the Caribbean ride almost, being this themed lounge. That I like. I think that's a really cool idea. I don't know what's going to be in there. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's going to be alcohol, right? Which is fine. Like,
no,
cool.
It's a bar. It's a bar.
But I don't know if there's going to be alcohol.
Well, it can't be a bar and not be have alcohol.
Of course it can't be.
They'll have the rum. Like,
yeah.
It will be interesting because there is no other alcohol there, right?
I'm pretty sure there's going to be alcohol. I mean, that's how
there is no alcohol in Magic Kingdom, is there, or is there now?
It's been slowly creeping its way in. Yeah, like you can get it at restaurants and stuff. Like,
I mean, so it's going to be interesting because in theory, if this is a pirates themed lounge, it should be rowdy and crazy. So I'm curious to see what ends up happening there. Let's see.
To your point, though, it does say Pirates of the Caribbean themed lounge. It doesn't say bars. It says lounge, which is very ambiguous, right?
And then unveils future projects. Yeah, I don't think they did, right? So they say that in surprises. Okay. So Ahsoka, okay, fine. Okay, but again, it's not like, well, what are we getting there? Okay, so we're getting her as part of Star Tours. Okay, no new ride, no nothing, just a new character. Okay, fine. Disney California Adventure Park don't care, even though that does look kind of cool. Like, the vehicle does look kind of neat, I will say. But what's it going to be? Is it going to be a new ride?
That's what I'm wondering, yeah.
we don't know what it's going to be, a new ride on. Oh, Disney Signature Experience. Cruise line, okay, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I want to go to Lookout Key, but it's so expensive, man. Like, the Disney cruises are just so expensive. So this blue sky look at what's possible and dreaming big at Disney parks, future, like, they're talking about things, right? Imagineers are looking to tell stories beyond Big Thunder Mountain, Simmerlands, like, but what? More details will come in the future. That means nothing. That's just right? So a new show based on Zootopia and the Tree of Life. This one hurts. This one hurts a little bit. This one
hurts for you?
Yeah, really? I mean, I love Bug's Life, right? Like, in terms of not the movie, but I like that experience and the show. Yep. So that hurts a little bit. I mean, I'm not a Zootopia person. Like, I just didn't think it was that good. I really didn't. So whatever to that. Reimagined Dinoland. I mean, we knew that was coming. Tropical Americas. I do dig that. Some Encanto stuff, but there's no real announcement here, right? There's like, hey, we may do this. Okay, thanks. Let us know when you actually have some real ideas coming. Indiana Jones for Reimagined Land at Animal Kingdom. Look, I know Trevor loves the ride, and I think I would love the ride. That's just not the spot for it, man. Like, you're at Animal Kingdom.
I disagree, but okay.
I disagree too, just the way that they're presenting it. But we'll
Animal
talk about
Kingdom was meant for animals, then why are we getting Indiana Jones when it should be somewhere else? I mean, I think this is just a cheap out because the ride already exists there. I don't think I would like things to go back. Like, I think there's things in Epcot that don't necessarily fit with that theme. I mean, they've gone away from what each one of them is and just kind of throw stuff wherever they want. That's the way I feel. Let's see, over the next decade with more projects underway. Yeah, but you have nothing. And Soarin' Over California, we're trying to Epcot. Okay, that's cool. Like, I like that. But again, it's not a new ride. The problem is that Universal is doing something awesome and Disney gave us nothing. That's it. I mean, this is nothing. I mean, it's all like stuff they should be doing. There's no big announcement here. There's nothing large enough to feel like, besides this lounge. This lounge, I think, is pretty cool. Like, I'm not going to lie, out of this whole thing, I think the lounge is good. Maybe this new ride vehicle in California Adventure Park is a big deal, but to me, it's not. So it's tough. I have to recuse myself on that because I don't think that I would be the person for that, just based on the fact that the park itself. But that may be cool. But there's nothing here. There's nothing here. This was made to be this huge announcement. And I just don't think there's anything there.
I see. I don't think it was made to be a huge announcement. It's just a panel of D23. It's not.
Yeah, it was like, D23, which everyone kind of assumed.
Yeah, but you're saying you're unveiling future projects and surprises. I mean, that's from Disney themselves, right?
Yeah, but they did. I mean,
surprises.
Test Track's a future project.
That's like a revamp. Like I don't.
Well, yeah, but it's still a future project, and nobody had that one, happening.
And surprises. What's the surprise?
I didn't know about the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I didn't know about
by that.
Yeah, this is nothing in comparison to what Universal is doing. And listen, I know there's arguments that they're catering to a different audience. They're not, right? Like they're not. People are going to Florida to amusement parks. That is in the Venn diagram. That is a big chunk, and this is nothing. Like I would
unless they announce a new park, it's not going to be the same thing.
No, but where is the new? Like again, like I don't even see an announcement of a new ride. I hear them talking about what they may do in Dinoland. Okay, but you've been talking about that forever. So what have you told us? You haven't really told us anything.
I mean, it just would rather they just said nothing. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I would rather they said nothing.
That makes no sense. Why wouldn't you tease stuff? Like, I mean.
Because your comparison of the tease is just so out of scope. Like this is not what people are looking for.
I would disagree, Damon.
Anything.
Yeah,
they just haven't.
It may not
anything.
be what you're looking for.
No, I mean that's the consensus out there, though. I mean, listen, they can have a 5-hour line for something that is not going to continue, but the general consensus of what I've seen out there is people are looking for something that maybe isn't going to be a new park, but maybe that there's just something coming to look forward to that maybe has a little bit of like, hey, this is new. A lot of what they're doing is just revamping rides that already exist, but with no new announcement. Listen, if they put in an Encanto house that, moves and does this and does that, and, that's what goes into Dinoland, which I don't know why and what it has to do with animals, but we'll see. Then maybe, but they haven't even said that. Like, if they want to tease something and they know what's coming, why not actually tease something? New experiences inspired by Encanto. Okay?
I mean, because it's probably not finalized yet. I mean,
But then don't say anything till it is.
What?
I'm disappointed in this. This is what I would say. I'm disappointed in this. I thought that we're going to get something that was actually concrete.
I think your expectations are misplaced. I was not expecting them to announce anything huge.
They haven't really announced too much recently. I mean, again, in terms of like new, and I just thought that they were waiting because they were like, hey, we have something up our sleeve for, what Universal is doing. And it just doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like that.
I mean,
we'll see. Not my cup of tea. Again, I was looking for something a little bit more concrete.
I'll be honest though, Damon. Like, I mean, outside of the Super Mario stuff, like the rest of the IP they're building at the new Universal Park, I could care less about. Like,
sure, and
there's not a single thing in that park outside of Super Mario that I'm interested in.
I mean, what's the dragon he placed sort of thing? New Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's a nothing franchise.
Harry Potter?
No. The How to Train Your Dragon thing.
I don't know about nothing franchise. I would say at this point is probably bigger than Indiana Jones, if we're just comparing with what we're seeing
out of here. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. I think you want to relook at that because I don't think that's too insane. You're talking about an IP that is quite long in the tooth.
Big IP at all.
And then you're talking about an IP with DreamWorks that is probably one of their larger IPs that has spawned kind of a lot of stuff. So
yeah, it's kind of faded off in the last couple of years, I think, is the problem. Because like my kid used to be really big into How to Train Your Dragon, and
sure, but your kid got older.
Yeah,
right? Like there's part of that.
Also, but with other franchises though, you still see the hype around it. I don't see anything like after the last movie, there hasn't really been anything about it.
Yeah, I still think it's bigger than Indiana Jones.
There are things that I have not seen that I am aware of just through pop culture and existence in the world. I know zero things about How to Train Your Dragon. I haven't heard a single person talk about it.
Why would they, though, to you?
I'm just saying you pick up things just from you hear things in the world, right? Like I didn't see Star Wars for, until my 30s, but I knew about Star Wars.
Is still pretty big, I would say.
I don't think it is. I just don't think it's that big of a franchise.
This is
being in the industry and actually running a kid's website, I can tell you that it's not as small as you would think. It definitely is bigger than Indiana Jones at this point. So
no,
but
that's just crazy to me.
Look up the numbers, man. I'm sure that the numbers would suggest that. Let's say that, especially with merchandising and things like that. But irrelevant. I would just tell you that with Harry Potter, even by itself, I don't know. This is disappointing to me. I'm going to watch the football game, and that's all I have for that. But total disoppointment.
I mean, do you even care about that Harry Potter stuff though? Like, because it's the other Harry Potter stuff that those movies like bombed.
What do you? It's the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that those
Fantastic Beast stuff though.
Yeah, the Fantastic Beast stuff just completely bombed. Like,
but it's the Ministry of Magic. It doesn't really matter what, and I don't think it is Fantastic Beasts anymore. I think it's been revamped. It's going to be the Ministry of Magic with Umbridge. So I think that's a little bit different now from what the original plan was. But yeah, you signed me up for the Ministry of Magic. Yeah, I'm in. I don't think. Yeah, I'm definitely in.
I mean, okay. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
Any closing thoughts before you run off to your game, Damon?
He's already gone. He's already gone. He's already
appreciate that.
He just already disappeared without even saying anything else. So, oh man. Okay, I don't even know what we're doing anymore.
All right. Well, so let's reset and let's, hi, welcome to the episode, and let's start from the beginning.
By the way, Indiana Jones is on the highest grossing franchise list, and How to Train Your Dragon's not even on the list. So, just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's
just saying.
Yeah. I wasn't going to get into that.
Absurd.
But okay, why don't we circle back? So obviously Damon just kind of shared his high level of the D23 announcements, which are going to be the vast majority of the show. So if you don't want to hear about D23, this isn't the show for you today.
We do have questions though. I mean,
but yes, we have some listener questions first. So let's go through those. And then we'll get into a little more depth into some of these D23 announcements and, really talk about what we think they mean and, what I disagree with the part about, nobody cares about these things, because there is definitely people care about different things when it comes to theme parks. And to your point, the Universal stuff has a certain appeal, and that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So it works both ways, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's start with the listener questions and see where we get.
All right.
All right. So Chris says, were any of you surprised by anything that came out of that very in-depth CNBC story about Chapek and Iger, where the succession went wrong?
Did you read it?
I didn't actually. I started reading it and then I stopped reading it halfway through because I got distracted. I'll admit. From what I understand, it started off that Chapek was thinking, that Iger was thinking that Chapek had the right idea, and that the big thing is that he wasn't swayed as much by political and dealing with different companies. Like, he seemed very just like, he knew what he needed to do and that was it. But it sounds like that kind of backfired is what I gathered from it. But like I said, I didn't read the whole article. So
yeah, I mean, I did read the whole thing, and from what I read, I mean, it was surprising in some ways, but it was interesting to hear how, kind of Iger had, was saying to people like, he's really good at operations, and he mistook that for being good at leadership, right? And he didn't feel like he was good at leadership. And it also just seemed like there was a lot of internal politics going on, and a lot of people that were loyal to Iger maybe just kind of, backstabbing Chapek behind the scenes. And Chapek did a lot of things that rubbed people the wrong way when he reorganized the company. And yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing is very interesting, kind of how he got replaced. Even like that part, I think, was probably the most interesting part to me, where they had just recently renewed his contract, and then couple weeks. I mean, I don't know if it was a couple weeks, but maybe it was like a couple months later. They just they take him out, and it's just surprising, Yeah, I don't know. It was a very interesting article. I mean, I feel like I knew a lot of it just from reading the news, but
yeah, it wasn't exactly secret. Some of the feelings people had around the whole thing, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, no, I found it to be an interesting article. It's really unfortunate. It was interesting though, the parallels they kind of made between Eisner leaving, where, like Iger didn't want to give up, basically didn't want to give it up, but kind of wanted to give it up. You know what I mean? Like he wanted to retire, but at the same time, he listen, the
he
CEO
enjoyed certain parts of it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the CEO of Disney is like a one of a kind job, right? I mean, it's the biggest media company in the world, right? So you're talking about you've reached kind of the mountaintop, right? So you don't want to necessarily give that up. And the funniest part of the whole story, I don't know if you read this part, Trevor, was that, when Iger agreed to stay on as executive chairman or whatever his role was, he didn't want to give up the big corner office to Bob Chapek because there's a private shower in it. Yeah. And he liked, after Disney events, he liked to go back to his office and take a shower in the office. And I was just like, I mean, I don't.
Come on, you could get a shower installed anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, apparently he was like, Chapek's not going to use the shower anyway, or whatever, and apparently he didn't. But I just thought that was funny that was the reason why. That was his he just liked having the shower in his office.
I mean, okay.
I mean, it's a nice perk. I mean, I guess if you spend your whole life at the office, So
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. Like you said, it's kind of, I can see where he didn't want to give things up, even superficial things like the shower. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's definitely not as, or the thing that I kind of knew in the back of my head was it wasn't as cut and dry as it seemed when it happened. Like it seemed like, oh, Chapek's the, he did everything wrong. He's out. No, there was definitely some more nuance to it than that. And like I said, from what I read of the article, at least it, it gave a little bit of insight into, I guess, Disney operations at that level that you wouldn't necessarily see. But, I mean, honestly, that doesn't seem much different than any other large company that I've seen at this point. That there's always internal politics that can ruin stuff.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's always this kind of stuff going on. Obviously it's a little different just because of the intrigue of Disney, right? But it was interesting just in just kind of how everything went down. And some of those little details and just how I guess Eisner was kind of the same way. Eisner, I guess, had tried to set up a similar situation when Iger was coming in, where Iger would take over, but he would stay on as chairman or whatever. And that ended up not working out because Eisner kind of lost the faith of the board, and they ousted him and that whole thing. So, but it seems like Iger's real problem with Chapek was more that he didn't value his knowledge, right? That he was just I'm taking over. I know what to do. Get out of here, Iger. You know what I mean? I think Iger really wanted him to lean on him as a mentor, and which Chapek couldn't care less.
Which is funny because it seems like Eisner kind of wanted the same thing.
Yeah,
Iger.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so it's, history's repeating itself a little bit, but I think that the difference is Iger's been on the other side, and I think he positioned things in such a way to make sure that he could, grab control of the reins again if it seemed like it was going south. And also, yeah, to your point, he didn't lose faith with the board or anything. So, it was, it was an easier sell to say, Iger comes back in and we reset versus, just push him out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess the thing is it could have gone the other way, where they could have, somebody could have doubled down and said, the way Chapek's doing things, people don't agree with, but it's better for the company, and maybe, but I guess it probably, I don't think it was, no matter how you spun it from everything that I saw. But
yeah. And I think that the thing that Iger had that Chapek didn't have was kind of this emotional intelligence, right? I feel like Iger kind of just gets it a little bit more. He kind of understands the purpose of the company, and he gets the storytelling thing, and he gets, how important the parks are. I just feel like Iger kind of gets that, you know,
the intrinsic value in creativity and not just showing quarterly results.
Yeah, exactly. Like Chapek was the business guy, right? And Iger's more the creative, I think. And you know, but also like they had a story in there about like when COVID hit, right? Like basically Chapek wanted to just lay everybody off in all the parks like immediately, right? Whereas like Iger was like, no, like let's wait for like the federal things to pass so that our people have, you know, some sort of backing and they're not just completely, you know, without any sort of income or whatever. And I guess Chapek was just like, no, we really want to just like lay everybody off immediately. And I guess Iger somehow overruled him on that. But because if you remember, they waited quite a while. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It was an interesting article, that's for sure. I don't think anybody came out of that article looking particularly good, even Iger.
No.
Yeah, it's not a good look for really anybody. And truthfully, since Chapek's been gone, we haven't heard a word from him, right? I mean, he's been
he's I feel he's not going to be in the public space as much as he was previously. Like
exactly.
And I think part of it is you know, we've kind of seen it as, you know, he's kind of been undoing a lot of he's been undoing some of the stuff Chapek has done, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily better what he's like. It's still rubbing some people the wrong way. So I can see why he doesn't want to, you know, play the popularity contest right now, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. All right, I think we covered that enough. Yeah. So you want to read Veronica's questions?
Yeah.
She says it's kind of a Trevor question.
yeah. Veronica says, sorry in advance, kind of a Trevor question. I feel Veronica might be Canadian.
Think so? Because she said sorry in advance? Is that?
Yes, that's usually a hint. But she says, visiting Disneyland for the first time in April. We are planning to spend one day in Disneyland and one day in DCA. My husband wants to dine at Blue Bayou. Any must-do dining at DCA? Nothing like Blue Bayou, or sorry, I shouldn't say nothing like Blue Bayou. If you wanted to do a really good dining experience in DCA, there is Carthay Circle, which is it's a very cool historical. So it's not like it's not like a character meet and greet or anything like that. It's a very nice restaurant, but it has a lot of the history of Walt Disney and like as he was coming to California and you know that era kind of stuff. Like it's very 1930s and talks about like, you know, his first movies and stuff like that. So that would be a good experience I would recommend in DCA. Although I've never actually gone in. I've been in there briefly, but we've never actually gone in for a meal in there. I assume it would be as good as Blue Bayou or any of those other, like, you know, Disney restaurants. But the one thing Blue Bayou does have over that is that, you know, the experience of having the looking out over the water and seeing people, you know, getting onto pirates and the boats floating by and all that. That's a very unique experience. And I feel that would be better than Carthay Circle. But again, that's just me. I wouldn't say, you know, don't do Carthay Circle, but that would be probably the one that I would recommend in DCA.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So Miranda wants to know, what are your favorite resorts and why? I mean, I feel like we've answered this before, but you know, never a bad thing to repeat things. Go ahead, Trevor. I know. Well, okay. I mean, I think everyone knows what your answer is, but
well, I mean, yeah, top three. So number one is the Poly is my favorite resort, and we all know because it's my home resort. I also just love the vibe of it. That Polynesian, like tropical kind of feel that it has. We don't get anything like that around here, so I just love that because it's like going to Hawaii without going to Hawaai.
Yeah.
So that would be my top.
We're doing top three. We're doing top three.
I'm gonna do two more just because I can.
Because you can. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I would say Wilderness Lodge is actually my second favorite. Because of the fact that it's I understand where the inspiration came from because there is places like that around here, and we've been over there a couple of times. The lobby coming into Wilderness Lodge is just amazing.
It's like nothing else.
Yeah. Like you walk in and you're just like, wow. And there's the fireplace. There's a whole wall that has like, it's all these, it's rocks, and it represents like the different eras of I don't know what it's called.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's like sediment deposits, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you cut down into the earth, you can see like different eras of time through it, kind of thing. And so I love that. Again, just a great feeling for a lobby and just a general resort. And then I would say my third one is actually the Riviera after you and I walked through it.
Oh yeah, I haven't even stayed there yet, but it was walking through it was pretty amazing.
It feels like somewhere that I would. I've said to my wife, in the future when we get to the point where it's just trips with the two of us, because that's going to happen at some point, is staying there would definitely be. Like I can see myself staying there. I guess there's no other way to say it. It just feels like somewhere that I can just see myself walking around, getting onto the Skyliner, going to EPCOT, all that. It's just a nice resort.
I thought you were going to say Grand Californian.
Well, Grand Californian and Wilderness Lodge. I kept it to Florida because they're both very similar. Like if you, and Grand Californian is like you get the same feeling walking in there that you do walking into Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah, I agree. So my top three, my number one is Wilderness Lodge as well. I love Wilderness Lodge. I went there when I was a kid, fell in love with it when I was a kid, and continued to stay there as an adult. Absolutely love Wilderness Lodge. To your point, Trevor, just walking through those front doors is like nothing else. I mean, every time we've ever waited for Whispering Canyon for dinner, we just sit in the lobby and watch people walk in because you can see that look on their face. You know what I mean? You could see that look of, wow, like, look at this. Although I think my favorite part about Wilderness Lodge, my very favorite part, is the fact that there's the hot spring that starts in the lobby and then runs through all these rivers and waterfalls all the way down to the pool. Like, just very cool. Like, I just love that. I love that you could take a boat ride to Magic Kingdom. Like, you're far enough away, but you're still really close. I love everything about it. It's the best. Mm-hmm. And then number two would have to be Animal Kingdom, which is my two of my home resorts. And we really love staying in Animal Kingdom. And truthfully, Trevor, Animal Kingdom Jumbo has a similar kind of like gigantic lobby that Wilderness Lodge has, like where you walk in and you kind of have that wow factor. Although even we usually stay at Kidani, but I think this next time we're going to stay at Jumbo. But yeah, I mean, we just love Animal Kingdom. I think it's the most unique property. I mean, a hotel on property. I mean, where else can you see a giraffe outside your window? Nowhere. I mean, unless you decide to go to Africa. Like, I mean, it's just the coolest place, right? And it's got great food. It's got great decor. I just love it. And listen, underground parking at Kidani, one of my favorite things.
Oh, I didn't realize it was underground. That's it.
Oh yeah, well, it's under the building, right? So like, it's a huge benefit. Although I did have an annual pass holder magnet stolen in that garage. I don't want to talk about it though. Third favorite, Boardwalk. We've stayed at Boardwalk a couple times. And maybe this is just the New Jersey kid in me, but I love the Boardwalk, the New Jersey Boardwalk feel of it. Just kind of like I think it's maybe the weirdest Disney hotel. Like if you've ever walked through Boardwalk, the art that they have and like the creepy chairs and like just random carousels all over the place. It's a weird place, man. But it's also just unique and cool, and like the fact that you can just walk down and they have performers doing stuff, doing different things, and there's the magic bar, and there's games and food, and it's just so alive at night. Like there's so few places that are like that, where it's like really just like alive at night and it's right outside your hotel. Like that's why I really love Boardwalk. And plus Skyliner access and EPCOT access. I mean, can't go wrong with either one of those things. So
that's true. It's funny you talk about like the resort at night. It's funny you talk about how alive it is. I actually like the Polynesian because it's so quiet at night.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. It's
two sides of the same coin.
Chirping. Yeah, you hear the crickets chirping when you walk around Poly at night.
And the bamboo is that actually gets us because they have the long bamboo growing there, and you can like hear them like,
oh yeah, like clacking,
knocking together. Yeah.
I laughed for the longest time, by the way, because like when last time we stayed at Boulder Ridge at Wilderness Lodge, we kept walking in and we'd hear like hoo 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 hoo, right? Like, and you hear crickets and all this stuff, and I'm like, I wonder if there's just like a lot of owls around here. And then I'm like, you know what? After like night 2, I'm like, that's definitely piped in. Like they're definitely doing a little Disney background music magic. I just feel like you don't have that a lot at the resorts as much, especially in the outdoor areas.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Very, very few resorts give that full immersion feel.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it might have been legit, but it felt too consistent to be legit,
Yeah, I mean, unless there's an owl that's figured out that there's, easy access to food around there.
Yeah, exactly. So Beth says, I booked my first DVC trip on the website without calling member services. What do I miss out on by doing this? Nothing really. You get that welcome home thing, but it's not that.
Yeah, I guess there is something to be said for like if you're dealing with a guide.
Yeah.
And like, because you've had it where like, the guide has sent something to your room when you arrive.
That's true.
Stuff like that. Right. So, I mean, you miss out on incidental stuff like that, but really, yeah, it's not.
I got that though when I booked through the website though. Like that wasn't from calling. I just.
Right.
They just knew I was there and called me and then sent me stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that it was like I remember our first trip, it was, the booking, it didn't really matter that much. And even, for us, we ended up having to reschedule our first trip. So where we had it booked, we got canceled because of the hurricane. And then we did our actual first trip later. When we got there, it didn't, we still got that, DVC feeling. It didn't feel like I missed out on anything. I think the biggest thing is that when you get there and that you're staying at DVC, that's when you really that's when you feel it.
I agree. I agree.
Like I did the right thing here, right?
That's true.
Yeah. But so the calling member services though doesn't make or break anything, I feel.
Yeah, you're not really missing out on that much. All right, so Chris says, which Walt Disney World DVC resort do you think needs the most enhancement to keep it competitive with the other DVC and resort locations around WDW? That's a tough question because I feel like they do a pretty good job of upkeep and doing, they have a refurbishment schedule where they redo the rooms every certain amount of time, right? So like the rooms are always, pretty much fresh. I'm going to say actually Bay Lake. So the one time I owned at Bay Lake, my very first DVC stay was at Bay Lake. And I found the rooms to be very small. And then I also found it to be like, there's like all black furniture in them. And like, they were like beat up, man. Like they were so beat. Yeah. Like, cause the black furniture, like if you just like scuff it, it's just like, now you see wood. Like, so, and I'm trying to think if Bay Lake has had a refurb recently. I mean, since I became a DVC, I mean, I'm sure they have. So maybe this is the wrong answer. I just am not remembering because I don't really pay attention to Bay Lake at all because I never stay there. So, I mean, I don't know, probably Boulder Ridge too, honestly. But I mean, that's happening. or happened. So yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head because pretty much all of them have been refurbed recently,
I feel like I guess he specifically says which Walt Disney World DVC resorts.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, it's like, like you said, all the ones in Florida or on property, they all have generally good maintenance schedules. I feel they're all competitive with one another in terms of, you don't feel like, there's any one DVC resort that is less than another one. It's just, they all have different advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, I agree.
But I feel, and we're probably gonna get hate for this in the group when I say it, but
just get hate for it. It's fine.
It seems to me like Vero specifically, because Hilton Head seems to get a lot of.
Well, that's getting a refurb now, I think. Actually, either now or next year. But yeah.
So it seems like Vero is the one that kind of almost gets forgotten. It seems like
maybe, yeah.
But again, I don't want to say that that's the one that needs to keep up with the other ones. Because again, I know it's a different thing because it's not part of the other ones that are on property. But I feel like those ones outside of the Disney property, they have to do the most work to keep it up, because, you know, realistically, that's why you're going there, right? Like, it has to be, they're kind of put to a higher standard, I feel, than actually a lot of the ones on site. Because
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because there's no other attraction other than the hotel, right? It's like, you know, yeah, that makes sense. All right, so Joe wrote us a nice long email. So, and this is a Canadian person, Trevor. So, okay. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Joe said. So there's actually a bunch of different questions here that all
there's a lot of questions
to the larger the larger question. So first of all, what is the story behind the intro and outro? I get the Jungle Cruise reference, but is there more to it? It's really original and fun, distinguishing aspect of the show. Where did the concept come from, and what was the thinking behind it? And how did you decide on your intro and outro? Wow. Okay.
Are there any other Imagineering intro, outro ideas on the cutting room floor?
So when we started this, we and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just remembering how the discussion went, because we had started talking about it, and we had all agreed that, you know, we wanted to have some music for going for intro and outro, but we didn't want, or we wanted to be careful about not using anything that was very easily Disney copyrighted or copyrighted in general, because that becomes a problem, you know, especially, you know, as a starting podcast. You don't want people sending you cease and desist letters because you're using their music and stuff. So when we had that conversation, the funny thing was that I already, in the back of my head, I was already aware of this, because before even starting the podcast, I'd already been paying attention to like the history and stuff around a lot of the rides, and specifically in Adventureland. I focused a lot on like just reading up on stuff in Adventureland, and the music loop in Jungle Cruise was something that I'd found it online, and like I'd listened to the proper music loop, and I was like, where are all these songs from? Like they're, because they're all very odd,
they're weird
at
songs.
The time. Yeah, they seemed weird, but I realized the more that I looked into it was that they were from like 1920, 1930 era, and they were meant to give that feeling of, you know, like what people would be listening to on the radio at the time, but also, you know, you're out in the middle of the jungle, so you're not necessarily getting, or you know, they're not getting stuff like the super popular stuff. Like, it seemed like just like general radio banter almost kind of music. And so I started looking into the names of some of these songs and whatever. And we found the song is called Lucky Ball and Chain. Yeah. So and it was made and the song was made by, and sorry, I can't remember the name of the band now, but you know, it was it was a band from like the 1920s, and the 20s, and because of that, it's not.
It's owned by somebody, but nobody cares.
It falls into public domain.
Yeah, it does,
because it's old enough that, because it's a public domain song, and that's part of the reason. Like, that's what I figured out along the way, that's kind of why Disney picked a lot of those songs for like if you listen in like Frontierland and Adventureland and stuff, a lot of those songs, for the same reason, Disney picked those songs, because they didn't have to worry about licensing or anything. They were just public domain songs. And so it worked for them. And so we realized, you know, hey, because, you know, if they're doing that, they can't get mad at us for doing the same thing. so yeah, I kind of picked that one because the funny thing is, I remember I suggested that one to you guys, and it was one that was, like I said, I found this playlist, and I think it was the first song that came up on the playlist that I found. And so it just really kind of got stuck in my head for a long time. So when you said we need a song, I was like, hey, how about this song? Like, it was like just the first one I had. Right. So,
well, and it also just worked too, because we could introduce the show in the style of like, because there's talking that happens over the music and funny witticisms and all that stuff. Like, it just kind of worked out nicely in that way, you know?
Exactly.
and for those that have been listening a long time, they will know that the original voice was me, doing it, fairly poorly, as well as I could do it. And
I think I tried it too, and it didn't come out very well either.
Yeah, we had a hard time doing that, and then later on we actually, I mean, I'll be honest, we hired a voice actor to do it. So the current one is a voice actor that we hired that I think did an excellent impression of the guy. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. We thought it was kind of iconic. It allowed us to use music in the show that we didn't have to pay for, which, is helpful. Is always a helpful thing when you don't have to pay for the music. And, it just kind of fit. It's a fun song, and it's funny because somebody posted on the Facebook group one time, they were like, is there like a deeper meaning in the whole ball and chain thing? Like a DVC's your ball and chain, it's like, and I'm like, no, but like, I mean, good for you for coming up with that. I mean, like, we didn't think of that. So, I will say the Halloween one, I think I just kind of did myself without even talking to you guys.
You just kind of, you brought it on, you're like, hey, what's that? Or what do you think about this? And we were like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So the Halloween one, I wanted to do something special for Halloween. And truthfully, we would do something special for like the holidays too, but there's not really like an iconic Disney song that we could take off of, so it's a lot tougher with holiday. We've thought about it before, and even because they do the Jingle Cruise now, and they'll play Christmas songs in the Jungle Cruise line. So I thought about doing that. Unfortunately, all the songs they use either just don't work, or they're newer songs that are and truthfully, just in general, Christmas songs are like, people pay attention to the copyright on those.
Yeah, so heavily copyrighted.
Yes, so it's a little harder to do that, but. I mean, I've gone on record before of saying how much I love the Halloween one. I actually worked really hard on that one. I mean, I edited both of them together, right? So like I in a lot of the opening, there's, if you listen hard to the opening, there's actually a lot to that opening. It's a lot of tracks. There's a lot of animal noises that I added in the background. There's a lot of static. It was a lot of work to kind of get that to the right place where it really sounded like you were in the Jungle Cruise line. And then, the Haunted Mansion one, again, that one I actually did voice, and I did some voice change there. So if you really listen to it, you can hear my voice for the Halloween one. But, I just had fun with that one. I thought it would be kind of cool to do a thing for the Haunted Mansion because I love the Haunted Mansion. It's one of my favorites. And so I thought it would be fun to do that. And, I love doing it every year. I'm excited to really, really do that one again. So, but I'm glad other people like it too, because I thought I was just really into the Halloween opening, and actually our regular opening I love too. I sometimes catch myself when I'm editing the show. I kind of bop around to it for a few minutes, like like it's a nice little song,
Yep.
So anyway. Yeah,
I need to correct myself because I realized I said the name of the song is Lucky Ball and Chain. That is wrong. It's called Here Comes My Ball and Chain.
Here Comes My Ball and Chain, yeah.
Lucky Ball and Chain is a They Might Be Giants song.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah.
Very different. But I realized why I did that. I realized why I did that because I do listen to a lot of They Might Be Giants, and that song is like ingrained in my head as well.
The kings of theme songs right there. So
exactly, yes,
for TV shows and such.
Yeah.
So no, but that's kind of the history behind it. I mean, like, listen, starting a podcast is hard in a lot of ways. Like, you have to come up with a name, you have to have logos, you got to do, figure out the sounds you're going to do. And, really, we just have kind of evolved over time. But I do think we actually had the intro from episode 1. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of figured that out quickly. Like I said, because that was where I kind of like, I quickly looked up the song and gave it to you and said like, hey, why don't we try this? Because we needed something. Because we didn't want to start the podcast with just like, hey, welcome to the podcast. Like we wanted to try and like, start on the right foot, I guess, was the intent. But
and I think we talked about so the original logo for the show, if you look really far back, so we had 2 old logos. There was one logo that I had designed, and I am not a graphic designer. In fact, my daughter asked me to draw a shark today, and it was the worst thing you've ever seen. I am not good at art. It's just not a thing that I'm good at. So I had created a logo that was based on the Walt Disney World Railroad logo, right? And I think we had talked, Trevor, about maybe doing our intro as the spiel in the style of the spiel for the train, and then we also talked about for the monorail, I think too.
We were trying to figure out if we could do something kind of like the please stand clear of the doors.
Yeah.
But again, the problem was we couldn't. We kept realizing that it was a very fine line with that, because again, you don't want to accidentally you don't want to copy it to the point where they can go, hey, you deliberately ripped off what we're doing, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like we were trying to be as careful about that as possible, because we didn't want the legal headache from it.
We are very careful about the things that we do. So, let's save Joe's question for next week, because I really want to get into D23 stuff, and we're already almost an hour in here. So, so let's go ahead and do our ad. So the sponsor of this week's episode is DVC Rental Store. The DVC Rental Store, a World of DVC company, offers magical vacations at incredible value. Save up to 60% off retail rates at premium Disney resorts. DVC Rental Store now includes deposits as low as 25% at the time of booking and a built-in cancellation policy for every reservation. And as always, DVC Rental Store pays out the most to members looking to rent their points. Want to learn more? Go to dvcrentalstore.com/welcome home or call 1-855-DVC-RENT. That's 1-855-382-7368. And when you speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you. But also, if you go to their website, make sure to go to dvcrentalstore.com/welcome home. Okay, so I don't know if you watched this live. I did. So I watched most of the morning panel at D23. But.
So I didn't, because the problem is that it started, I think, at like 7.
It started pretty early for you. It would have been early for you. Yeah.
And I was up early the night before with my brother playing mini golf. So there was a new VR mini golf course that came out this last week.
Trust me. I know. I wanted to play with you guys and I couldn't. So
I know. But yeah. I slept in. So I didn't watch this live. I kind of caught everything like about an hour or two after it got announced. Yeah,
we had a really nice, I feel like, spirited conversation in the Discord about all this stuff, which I appreciated. Yeah. So, all right,
I like that too. There was just a shout out to all of our Discord members that everyone came to the table with different things they were excited about, different thoughts, and exactly to your point, it was nice to see some good conversation about it, because it's always nice.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to talk about when Damon was here, but he really was in and out, is like, I didn't expect that much out of D23, right? So like, I feel that Disney is, and Universal does this too. There's like cycles, right? Mm-hmm. And Disney was on this cycle for the past 5 to 10 years where they built a lot of stuff. There were new lands,
stories, Star Wars.
Pandora. Even that was in the past 6 or 7 years ago, right?
I forgot. Pandora feels like it's been there forever, but it's really not that.
It really has not been. Yeah, but like, that's when people are talking about, oh, they're not doing enough. It's like, man, they've opened a ton of stuff, like a lot of stuff. And so for me, I feel like they're just kind of at the end of that cycle, and we're about to be at the beginning of that cycle again. And like, I get it compared to what Universal's doing. They're building a whole new park. Like, sure. Yeah. But short of building a whole new park, one of the things I took away from this, and this is, Josh D'Amaro, and this is further down. But he said, we are going to, over the next decade, we're going to have more projects underway than any point in our history. So like, I think they've got a lot in the hopper. They just haven't announced it all yet, right? Like, some of it they're probably
the cusp of a new cycle.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think they were ready at D23 for these things. And listen, they don't always announce big things at D23. Like they have in the past, but like they've also announced like huge things just on a random Wednesday. Like they just kind of do things at different times. So like, I thought this was fine for D23, right? D23 is a fan festival, right? Like, that's what it is. Like, it doesn't need to be a platform to announce the newest and greatest things. I'm fine with them teasing stuff. And part of me thinks that I almost feel like they market test these things, like they announce this stuff, like this Blue Sky stuff, and then they go like on social media and go, okay, what do people think about this? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they're doing I also, the other part of this though too, and we were talking about this in the Discord, right? Imagineering has gone through quite a change over the past couple of years, right? They lost a lot of their old guard, right? Like they had a bunch of people retire. They lost, people like Joe Rohde, they like, Kevin Rafferty, and like all these guys that were like huge over there, right? And so they lost a lot of that brain power. And then recently, they just brought back in Bruce Vaughn, who's the head of Imagineering, who had left, and he's coming back. And I tend to believe, based on how the things have shifted from one D23 to another, that Bruce came back in and was like, we're doing this all wrong, man. Like, we need to, like, this, like, these are great concepts, but they don't make sense here. Or we need to redo this. So, like, part of me thinks that maybe they did have things they were going to announce at D23. And then Bruce came along and kind of was like, listen, we gotta start from scratch on a lot of this stuff. Like, we need to,
you need more time on this. So it's going to be a lot of, still coming soon.
That happens with leadership changes all the time, right? And you're talking, this was, he, took over Imagineering, right? So of course he's probably reviewed every single project they had. And I'm sure that they probably started from scratch on a lot of them, like that's just my thoughts. I mean, I don't know if that's actually true or not, but he kind of made it seem like that when he came on stage, that as soon as he got there, he, went reevaluate a bunch of stuff. I also think though too, Disney is kind of waiting to see how things shake out with tourism, with the economy. I think they're like waiting for this stuff because they don't want to commit to building, billions of dollars worth of stuff when they might not want to spend that money right now. Like maybe they don't, so I just think it's, I understand what Damon's saying. I get it. Right. But we also can't have a $500 million ride opening every year. They just can't do that. Like and we've had that. I feel like every year for the past like 10 years, like it's been a lot of stuff.
And to your point on, for the last 10 years, I think back to when Galaxy's Edge got announced, and, it was the same kind, and I guess this is the problem, right? Is it was like, D23 kind of announcement, they were like, hey, we're building a Star Wars land, right? But the cadence from when that got announced to when it actually came to fruition was long. Like it was like 5 years. And the thing is that I remember this because at the time I was watching a vlogger in Disneyland, and he was going to the parks like every day. It seemed like he was there like every day. And he'd found that from the parking structure, he could see over to where the construction was going on. And so he was like just giving updates like, okay, well, they moved that pile of dirt from there to over there kind of thing. Like, and it's like, this is going to be a while. Like
it's
you
kind of take some time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of realize that it was like, hey, anything that they announced, like everyone's thinking like, they're going to announce something and, it's coming next year. That feels like the expectation. But, I would turn that around on Universal, that how long has Super Nintendo World and Epic Universe been?
Wow.
Yeah. Like again, years in the making. So
we also still don't even know the details of those parks, right? Like everything is speculation still, like, which is weird. It's a totally different strategy where they're just like, we're not going to tell you anything. Where Disney's like, we're going to tease stuff like way ahead of time. We're going to give you no details, but like, here's a thing that could be coming,
But I think they're both playing from the same deck in that case, because if you think about it, like, when they did the whole Star Wars thing, it was, there was a microscope on them about it. Like,
absolutely.
Like I said, there was people looking at, there was people, when's it coming? Right. And then, when they started like, hey, we're only opening up, one part, one ride's going to be open. Everyone, what, that's ridiculous. Right. And so it created this overinflated expectation of what was coming next. And, I can see why Universal on the flip side was like, you're not going to find anything out until it comes, because then, the expectation is, Super Nintendo World, what, I've got an idea in my head of what that is. When I get there, it's either going to meet my expectations or not. Like it's, but I'm not going to be going in with like, but you promised that it was going to be this amazing thing, or, you teased all this stuff. Right. I can see why Disney is kind of holding back. Like, the stuff that they're teasing is very ambiguous for that reason, is that they don't want to they don't want to come out at somewhere like D23 unless they have something concrete. And that's what a lot of these announcements have been, is, they have some concrete things that it's, this is coming in October, this is coming in a couple of months. And so they're committing to those things, but then the bigger projects, until they get closer to actually coming into focus, they're going to keep saying the same thing. And I get Damon's frustration, believe me, I do sympathize with that, but I was not expecting at all for them to be like, hey, there's going to be, Fifth Gate's opening, or, this park is going to be open as of, 3 years from now. Like they're just not going to do that. Right.
Well, we were joking in the Discord, like all this stuff's going to be great in 2031, like that's, yeah, which is fine. Right. Like, they're talking about these things. And if you're not familiar with the term blue sky, like that's just the very, very, very beginning of a project. Right. So for me, like Bruce Vaughn came back and they rebooted, like they just started over again in my mind. Right. Like they went back to the concept stage,
This is after like 2.5 years of like post-COVID kind of like, because COVID kind of messed everything up too.
It did.
A lot of things, a lot of budgets got dropped, a lot of things got reset because of that. And now they're resetting again. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
Absolutely. That's kind of how I look at this. It's a reboot. Like they're starting over. They're starting new concepts. They're figuring out what they can do and what they want to do and what the future is going to be. Like, and that takes time. I understand. Like I said, I understand where Damon's coming from, because it's like, oh yeah, Universal's building a whole new park, right? Great. But Disney's been on this cycle of building. I mean, they built a whole new park's worth of stuff over the past 5 years.
It's scattered through 4 parks, but you're right. If they put that all into a single park, that would have been would have been another Hollywood Studios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I understand, like they said a long time ago that they were more focused on expanding the current parks than building a new park, right? And we talked on the show before. Everyone thinks they want a 5th gate, but do they really? Right? Like, do you really want the 5th gate?
I don't want a 5th gate.
Yeah, because you don't want to pay for more for tickets. You don't want to have to take a longer vacation to cover everything. Like I think we want a 5th gate in our minds, but do we really want a 5th gate? I don't know, right? So and truthfully, if you want to count it the way that Universal does, it would really be a 7th gate, right? Because Universal counts Volcano Bay as an amusement park, right? So if you want to do it that way,
if you want to include water parks,
if you want to include water parks, fine. Then then they're talking about a 7th gate, right? So, but I just wasn't expecting that much from this. I didn't think they were going to announce the big new land, right? It wasn't something I thought they were going to do, because I feel like they're still feeling things out. They're still trying to figure out where they want to go next. But, there's a couple things in here, Trevor, like they tease that the Magic Kingdom expansion that they're going to do is going to be the biggest in the history of the park. Okay, that's great. I mean, we don't know the details yet, but sounds kind of awesome, whatever they're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's the same thing as, when they said Star Wars Land was coming. In my head, I was like, okay, great. Whatever that looks like when it's done.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I just think it's positive, right? Like to me, I view this all as positive, right? Like they've listened to fans that want more attractions, want more shows, more experiences, and they're doing these things. These things just take time. And I think losing so many of the senior Imagineers really was difficult for them, right? I think they lost a lot of the institutional knowledge that you have. And I think it's especially important in Imagineering to have that institutional knowledge, and to lose those people in a very condensed amount of time, I think was a problem. But if you think about it, like, and I said this before, like, think about all the stuff that opened when Bruce Vaughn was like, the creative executive, right? Like a lot of great stuff, right? I mean, like this guy knows what he's doing, right? Like, Galaxy's Edge, Pandora, like all that stuff was things that when he was there and running things, like those were things that he worked on. So, he's in tune with what people want. And I think I said this before, he was a great person to bring back and to have running Imagineering. So, I feel very optimistic about what's coming in the future. Like, just because we didn't get all the details today doesn't mean I'm not excited for what the future holds.
So let's then
Let's talk about
talking
conceptually. Yes.
Yeah. Talking long term is one thing, but let's talk about what's actually coming. And I know, again, I know Damon's opinion on this is that a lot of these things don't matter, but they do matter to different groups of people. And for anybody listening to this, if these things don't matter to you, great. I'm not saying that what Damon said is wrong either.
Yeah, sure.
He is entitled to feel however he wants about this, because we all have things that we like and don't like about, any theme park. It's not just Disney, it's the Universal, all that. Damon's clearly, his mind is very much focused on Universal. In my family, we actually talked about Epic Universe, and my wife, from everything she's seen, there's not a single ride there that she can do. Because she can't handle faster rides. She can't handle stuff that spins or that does certain things, because she unfortunately has a medical condition that stops her from enjoying these things. So that's an entire park that is pretty much off the table for her. So, on the flip side of that, looking at what they're talking about here. So, okay, there's a new, and let's just start going through this, because
let's do it. Yeah.
Why not? So, Luminous, the Symphony of Us, another Epcot nighttime show. All of them have been since
I liked the last one, man. I know, I hated the barges and the Stargate, but you and I watched it together. It was a great show.
It was. And the funny thing is that, I was excited to see it with my family, but I realized that, we didn't, did we watch it?
You and I don't know if you watched it with your family.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. So the problem was, on our last trip, I don't think we actually stayed for it, because with the hurricane and everything, it kind of threw off. I had to go back and look at my pictures. Maybe we didn't see it, but either way, this will be another new one coming. And that's something from, I'm looking forward to that, because nighttime shows for me, like I am there at night. I am there enjoying, whatever these shows are.
I love them.
And I want to see what they do after, post Stargate.
Post Stargate. Yeah. The interesting thing, first of all, I love the poster for this. I think it's a very cool looking poster. Second of all, I find it very strange that, and I have a conspiracy theory about this that I'm going to get into. I'm going to do some reckless speculation. I'm sure you saw it.
Right.
I already threw this out on the Discord, but so this show is 3 months away and we know nothing about it. They've released one piece of concept art. I've seen some pictures of the barges that they're building, right? They're not the Stargate and the tacos, right? It's not going to block your view of the whole World Showcase, which is really where I think the last one went wrong, right? I think people generally liked the show. I think they had two problems with it.
It was an eyesore during the day.
It was an eyesore during the day, and if you weren't directly facing the Stargate, you really missed out on a lot, which is a problem, right? Illuminations was great because you could watch it from anywhere in World Showcase, and it was great, no matter where you watched it from, right?
Yeah.
But this one, we know nothing about it. All they're saying features fireworks, fountains, lasers, lighting effects, and music. Okay. That's what everything else is. So I have been saying this for a while. I think that this is going to be a drone show, and I still believe that.
And you think they're just keeping their cards close to their chest on this one?
I think they're keeping their cards close to the chest because they need to get approval from the FAA to do a drone show, and I don't think they've gotten approval yet.
Why would they commit to an opening date, though?
But maybe they've designed it so that if they don't get approval, that they think that, or maybe they're about to get approval. Maybe they feel like they're at the end of it. This is my crazy conspiracy theory that is based on absolutely nothing other than I feel like they're going to do a drone show. I just feel like they're going to do it. I don't know why. I feel like the drones are going to take off from these barges in the World Showcase, and the drone show is going to happen right in front of your face in the World Showcase. And if you're going to operate hundreds of drones that close to people, you need to get approval for that. So, and I know this only because they had to do this. There was a test they wanted to do at Magic Kingdom years ago with drones, and to do it at Magic Kingdom because it basically has to fly over people to get to the castle. They had to get this approval from the FAA, right? So, I don't know. This is seriously, like I said, super far out there, and I have no idea if this is true or not. I have no inside information. I'm literally just speculating. I just think it's very strange that 3 months out, we have heard literally nothing about this except for that one concept art and the general fountains, lasers, and lighting. Okay.
The interesting thing is I don't think, or they wouldn't have to fly them over people to get them out to the lagoon because, like you said, with the barges,
yeah.
I think it'll be like how it was with Illuminations, where they had the drawbridge on the one side, right? And they would
they're going to barge them out. So they're building barges in the backstage area right now, right? And
right.
so they're also
so every day they'll go in and out instead of sitting in the middle of the So taking them off and landing them in the middle of the lagoon might be an easier sell than
it might be,
flying them over Magic Kingdom.
But they're still might be too close though to people though. Like I don't know what the
that's the concern is that what happens if if a drone goes awry and flies off into the crowd, right?
That's that episode of The Simpsons from Itchy and Scratchy Land, right? I mean,
let's not. The Simpsons predicts too many things. Let's just
But no, listen, like I said, it's a crazy theory I have. I just feel like from things I've read, Disney executives have been extraordinarily impressed with what they've been doing at Disneyland Paris. And if you haven't seen the show they did, what was it for Bastille Day? Is that what it was? That show?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean,
it was so good.
It was so awesome. Like, it would shock me if they don't get drones into something at Disney at this. And to me, at this point, this is the next show that's debuting. So why wouldn't it be? I just feel like it's going to be. I don't know.
The funny thing is that it's not even like they have to fly any complex arrangements because they could literally just put them into a sphere formation because I don't know if you've seen other drone shows where they do that. Like all fly in a sphere. And then it's actually the lighting that takes over. So it's not that, the drones are flying around. It's that they're all just in like a grid pattern and they're being lit up the same way that Spaceship Earth gets lit up. Right. I can see them combining the two together where, you've got,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Right. Like where there's like a floating dome in the middle of the lagoon and then Spaceship Earth, and they're both doing the same things.
So cool.
Right? I agree with you that they need to start doing something with it, and I hope that this is it. But I'm also, I'm tempering my expectations that it may just be another show like the ones we've already seen, and it may not be. And not to say that it won't be amazing. I think it'll just be hey, another great nighttime show.
Nothing's ever going to be Illuminations. I'm going to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, when I saw it with my son, he was like, and I mean, this was like, we saw it after we watched Happily Ever After, and he was kind of like,
that's sure.
That's it.
Fair. That's
like, yeah.
But I listen, I know not everybody dug Illuminations, but I don't know. There was just something about that show for me, man. I just love that show.
It's got some nostalgia.
Yeah. I mean, but also the show, it's called Luminous, right? Luminous. Mm-hmm. Let's think about that, right?
That's lots of lights.
Lots of lights, my friend. Also, did you see the Marvel show they did at Disneyland Paris too? Because that one I think maybe was even cooler than the other one.
I don't know if I did see that one.
Oh, you got to see that one, dude. That one's cool.
I'll have to look it up after this.
That one is so cool. That one is really, really cool. They did some amazing stuff with that one. Yeah, so look that one up because that one's cool.
All right. So I'm going to segue. Yeah. Let's segue into the next one. Speaking of nostalgia, so Figment at Epcot is now a meet and greet,
which they teased months ago. Yeah.
So he's in the same space where Vanellope was from Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
So just
too. Yeah.
So when you come off of Journey to Imagination, or you don't even have to ride the ride, you can go in there, like you can just walk into that space anyway. But Figment is there now, and of course, the ride or the line for him today was like 5 hours.
I heard 5 hours. Yeah, I heard 5 hours.
Yeah, crazy. I saw that as well. I saw multiple people saying that, and I mean the reality with that is that it's that it's a lot of vloggers and stuff that are lining up to get first crack at it. That's what that was. So I wouldn't leave that. I wouldn't leave that as an indication of Figment's going to be a crazy busy meet and greet from here on out. That's just not going to be the case. The good part I see from that, though, is that as much as Damon says, Figment's for like the super fans. Yes, but this is one of those ways for Figment to become more well known again.
Mainstream.
Because the thing is that if they're doing meet and greets and if they're actually listening to people if there was just a very small group of people that loved Figment, that would be one thing. But the reality is that every time they release Figment based anything, whether it's popcorn buckets or magnets or whatever, those things get snatched up. And
I agree.
So it's not just a small group of the fans. There's a lot of people. Figment is popular. whether you want to admit it or not, Figment is popular.
Well, that's why I was, listen, I hope they're looking at this and going, okay, let's put the money into redoing the ride.
I think it's on the plan. I really do. I think this is just them. This is them, doing like how Disney does stuff whenever they announce these, a ride's going to get a redo or whatever. They will always find other ways to get people to engage with the IP, right? Like they'll do meet and greets. They'll do stuff to keep people interested and engaged with it. So, the fact that, the Figment ride is in real need of some love. The fact that they gave a meet and greet there shows that, I'm sure it's somewhere in the game plan for that ride to get redone.
Yeah. Epcot was supposed to be transformed in phases, right? And COVID screwed up some of that, right? So, and it's taken way longer than they anticipated. There was supposed to be a whole refurb of Spaceship Earth, which I still think is coming, right? They need to do it, right? So I think it's still coming. I do think that they're focusing on finishing the existing projects, and then they're going to move on to the whatever other stuff at Epcot, right? So they need to finish the middle of Epcot. Once they're done with that, then maybe they can focus on Figment. Then maybe they can focus on Test Track, the changes they're going to make. And also
Epcot needs to stabilize.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe they'll finally do something with Wonders of Life. I think my biggest disappointment from D23, and again, I didn't expect big announcements, but they were and you didn't watch it, Trevor, but they were drawing out the whole Figment thing, right?
Were they?
Yes, it was right at the end, right? And they were doing this whole thing with Figment because they were doing a thing with Dave Goelz, right? Dave Goelz there, because who's the voice of why am I forgetting his name? The Muppet with the nose. Why am I?
Gonzo?
Yes, Gonzo. I almost wanted to say Grover. Yeah. What am I doing? Yeah, but anyway, so he's the voice of Gonzo, but he's also the voice of Figment, right? So and they did this whole thing where oh, we have a surprise for you because he's been with the company for 50 years, right? And it's it was a whole thing. And so they brought out Figment and they did a whole thing. And then Josh Giammaro's kind of dragging it out. And then I'm just is he going to do a one more thing kind of deal where he's going to be oh, and one more thing, we're reimagining Figment. And then he didn't do it. And I was just oh, man. I was really hoping for that. And then I was hoping maybe at the Epcot panel later that day that they were going to maybe announce something, but they didn't. But listen, I think everyone knows that Figment needs a redo. Everyone knows that Spaceship Earth needs a redo. And then after that, there's not a whole lot else you got to do at Epcot, right? They've done a lot of stuff at Epcot over the past couple of years. I mean, would we love another pavilion? Sure. But are we going to get one? Probably not.
It's not that there's nothing left to do at Epcot. It's just that they can back off on Epcot for a little while. Because the thing was, the reason that Epcot had all these changes happening was because it was very dated.
It was old.
It was stuck in the 90s, right?
I mean, Spaceship Earth is still stuck in the 90s, so
but it's fine.
It's actually stuck in the early 2000s because they did do a refurb of it in the early 2000s. But I mean, I was really excited for the plans that they had announced for Spaceship Earth because Spaceship Earth is a ride I love. I will ride Spaceship Earth 100 times in a row if I have to, because I just love that ride. It's to me, it's classic Disney, classic Epcot. And, it's also the same, where Damon said, the Moana thing doesn't fit. I think it does fit because
oh, it absolutely does.
Yeah, because it's they put Moana into it, sure, right? But it's also about the water cycle, right? And the whole concept of Epcot originally, after the Walt Disney concept of it, right, where it was an actual working place, but later, when they made it into a theme park, it was all about edutainment, right? It was all about education. You remember the whole Wonders of Life Pavilion was about educating people, right? And the innovations and all that was, teaching people about, the next technological, innovations. Like, to me, it fits perfectly because the whole thing is teaching you about the water cycle. Now, given it's using an IP, but why wouldn't you use an IP that fits with it, right? Like, the whole thing with Moana is the ocean's kind of alive, right? And it makes sense. So,
that's such a flimsy argument to say, well, they used an IP on it. Well, like, have you looked at the Living Seas? It's like it's Finding Nemo, right? But it's still educational. It's perfectly fine. And honestly, I feel like the Moana area is a great bridge between the Living Seas and the land.
I agree.
Because it does absolutely tie into that whole theme of, educating people about the environment and environmental impact and all that. So
those two areas especially, right? I mean, the seas and the land. I mean, living with the land is just an educational attraction, right? And I mean,
which I love.
I do too. Yeah.
The thing is that whole area reminds me of, we had a science center we still have a science center in Calgary, but when I was a kid, it was like, or they actually moved it at one point. So the old science center, it very much reminded me of like the same kind of things you got at the land, like educational or like, living with the land. It just gives me that same vibe and I love it. Like, I don't want them to take that away because there's no need to. It's perfectly good the way that it is. And, it just needs some upkeep every once in a while because, the message is timeless. I agree. Everything that they do in those pavilions is just to teach people about the world, which was the goal. So it's like, why would you change it?
I agree. I totally agree. I think it fits perfectly, and I don't mind the Moana branding in it. It makes sense to me. I mean, really, if you look at Moana as a movie, the movie is about not destroying the natural environment, right? Like they put like a whole kind of supernatural thing on it, but that's kind of what it's about, right? Like, so I don't know. We should skip ahead though, because there's so much to talk about and we're like getting really late here. So,
well, okay, real quick, I just want to say I'm so glad that Walcott's going to be gone the next time that I go.
Walcott's going to be gone. So December, all the walls come down. Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. All right, what's next?
Test Track. Let's talk about Test Track.
Okay. So, yes. Okay. Whoa. Yeah.
Okay.
That concept art, that car. Like I know that's the Test Track car, but it looks a little different.
It looks different to me. It looks like something from, and I'm going to reference an older movie now, Minority Report. Like it looks like something, right? Yeah. It just looks like something that's like from the future, but like, I don't know. The interesting thing about that concept art to me is not even the car; it's the background, because the background looks like a jungle or a
like
forest.
A forest, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like, so then I had to remember, like, okay, what happened in World of Motion, right? Because World of Motion has been closed for a long time. And so they're saying they're taking inspiration from World of Motion, right? And it's like, okay, well, I don't remember what happened in World of Motion. I know it was not the, because that closed in 96, right? It was
an Omnimover ride, right? Like, I never even rode it as well, but I've seen videos of some, like a lot. There was a lot of Omnimover rides back in the day in EPCOT. Yeah. So,
yeah. And so like, I mean, and what they did was like, they took you through like the history of transportation, right? Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because it's like, okay, so how are we going to do that with Test Track? Like, and maybe they're just looking for inspiration from it, but I don't know. I'm just interested to see what they're doing. Because honestly, I think most fans would just be okay if you just brought it back to the old version. Like,
Well, I mean, my wife said she's like, I don't want to do the stupid crash test dummy thing.
Really? Oh man, I love that whole concept.
But I said, yeah, but you got to admit the first time you did it was pretty amazing. She's like, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, like if you don't know what's going to happen and like that wall just moves the last second, right? Like,
when you come into the room, because it was like the joke in the pre-ride spiel thing, right? And you're like, yeah, right, they're gonna do that to us. And when you come around the corner and you're like, oh, this is
they're
actually
really going to do it.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
They can't do that. Wait.
Yeah.
They actually they talk about this in the Imagineering story, which I know I reference a lot, but where they talk about how rides are all about like building anticipation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the fear, right, that you end up having, and then you make it through, right? But that's what thrills are, right? Is that you have the anticipation, and then you have that fear, and then you survive it. And so because of that, it's thrilling, right? And that ride's a perfect example of it, right? Because like you said, they tease it in the beginning, and then you get to that point and you're like, oh my gosh, it's really going to happen. But then you survive it, and it's like, that's the thrill of it, right? I just love that whole idea of that. So
yeah, the more that I'm looking at the concept art, like you said, it's very interesting that there's like a forest in there, because it almost feels to me like it reminds me of Dinosaur. Like,
you know what? It's funny you said that, Trevor, because I'm almost wondering if they're going to do like a time travel thing, right? Where they're going to take us through the history of transportation, and our vehicle is going to be like a time travel vehicle.
So
right?
It'll be like a faster version of Spaceship Earth.
Kind of, yeah. Like, and but I mean, like, you can have the fast stuff in there, right? Because you can do what they do in Dinosaur, where it's like, oh, there's dinosaurs around here. Oh, I gotta go really fast to get away with the dinosaur. Okay,
yeah, get away. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And then maybe at the end you make it so that it's like, okay, the
into
last
the
part.
Future,
right? Yeah, exactly, right. So we have to, gun it to what's to
8 miles per hour.
We steal Back to the Future, right?
Yeah,
we gotta gun. It's too bad they can't do Back to the Future. That would be amazing.
Oh, that would be amazing,
right? How great would that be? But yeah, like just looking at this concept art, it almost makes me feel that way, because it's like, I mean, they could do that if that's what they're looking to do, like a World of Motion thing, because World of Motion takes you from, the beginning of transportation to the modern day. Like, okay, you could do that with this. You could make it so that you're at the beginning of the transportation and you end up in modern day, and you could still have it be a thrill ride. There's ways to make that happen. I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen now.
And do you know what the nice thing about that is, if that is the direction they're going, is that does, it puts it into that space where it has the potential to be a timeless ride.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Right. Like because this is the hard thing about, like, we were talking about like old test track, new test track and everything, is that they're very, they're very kind of stuck in whatever they created at the time.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not presented in a way that it feels like Spaceship Earth, like you said, even though it's had redos and everything, Spaceship Earth is pretty timeless. Like it tells the story that it needs to, and it's encapsulated to that story. It doesn't feel like, this looks like a 20-year-old ride. It feels like, this is what this was made to do. Right.
Yeah. The only dated part of that ride is the end, right? Like,
yeah. And even at that, like it's kind of, like, the whole showing you your future and everything, it's still endearing. It doesn't feel
I agree.
Like it doesn't feel out of place, I guess is the only way I can describe it. The more that I keep looking at this, so I'm getting I'm getting like 4 different experiences in my head looking at this picture.
Like I said, it reminds me of energy.
No, actually, no, but I can see that. But so I'm feeling like Dinosaur. I'm feeling a little bit of Radiator Springs Racers from it. Yeah. Because Radiator Springs Racers is a total, like, it's the same type of ride, but totally different feel. And I know it's like cars and stuff, but I'm getting that. I'm getting a little bit of actually the land for like,
I'm feeling that.
Yeah. Kind of like when you come around on the farmhouse and stuff, like it's, and then just like, being in California Adventure. I don't know why. It's weird. I think it's because of the sunlight in the background coming through the trees.
I read that now.
It's hitting a lot of notes, right?
Now that I'm talking about the time travel thing, I read that as you time traveling from that point. Like that's where you're coming through the wormhole.
Okay. Yeah, I just see it as like a sunset. So yeah, you're right. Maybe that is the wormhole that you
entry point. Yeah, because and then maybe this scene is the prehistoric scene.
Yeah, because and actually, now that I'm looking at like because the ride, it almost has like a Tron-esque look to it now.
It does, yeah,
because it's got like the blue light on it, and you can see the tracer of it when it comes around the corner.
Yeah. All right, we need to keep going here. So,
okay, yeah.
All
right. What else do we got?
Journey of Water opening October 16th. Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. We already got that. Okay. So now let's move over to Magic Kingdom. Yeah. Country Bears.
I'm actually pretty excited for this, and I said this in the Discord. I love Country Bears for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is that it was like kind of low key dirty, like especially for Disney. Yeah. Like there was some really adult humor in that thing, and I kind of always thought that was funny. But I told this in the Discord. So the part of the reason I love Country Bears is because it's one of my mom's favorite things. Because growing up back in back when Disney World had first opened, they used to go to Magic Kingdom, and my grandfather loved this ride. Loved this show because my grandfather's nickname was Big Al, and you have Big Al.
Big Al.
So he just, it just kind of always kind of resonated with him, So kind of what we were talking about before. This to me is the best case scenario, right? Because, listen, Disney has to continue making things relevant, right? And there are certain things they don't have to do that with, like Small World, Peter Pan. Those things are kind of still relevant, right? But Country Bears is an original IP, and I mean, most kids don't know what it is, right? So you're taking
because it never really got outside of the parks. Like there was
the movie, but it was
it didn't hit, right?
It didn't hit, no. So to me, this is and what they're doing too is they're doing different versions, different genres of country music, but they're singing classic Disney songs. Like the one they played in the video was they're going to do Bare Necessities, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's a way for them to get it more, at least in front of kids and have it make more sense for them. So as long as they keep the general vibe of the Country Bears and kind of that irreverent sense of humor, I'm all for this, man. I'd much rather have this than them closing it down and putting some other IP in there. I just love the Country Bears. To me it's quintessential Disney. It's old school Disney, and I'm fine with reimagining stuff, man. Stuff can't stay the same forever. I think things need to change sometimes.
I agree, and you know what? The funny thing is, Country Bear exists in the same sphere as Figment. If you really think about it,
no, sure, yeah, original park
Figment,
IP, yeah,
exactly. It's an original to specifically Walt Disney World because sorry, just to shed some light for people outside of the Discord, I posted a picture in there of my parents bought a record of the Country Bear Jamboree in Disneyland. So it was a record, but on the front it said, Walt Disney World Country Bear Jamboree, but then the record had the Disneyland logo on it. And this was bought back in the 80s, which, looked really weird. And the thing was, my experience with Country Bears was the first time I saw it was in Disneyland. So before it closed. And so I didn't to your point about, kids, identifying with it and everything. I had no idea what it was until my parents took me there. We saw the show. We all had a laugh about it. My parents bought the record, and I listened to that record a lot growing up. I knew all the songs, even though I hadn't been to Walt Disney World to watch it. I remember my wife says she doesn't remember actually seeing the show, but I know we did because we went once in I believe it was in 2006. We were there with my brother. It was me and my wife and my brother were there. And I remember I was like, yeah, let's go watch this because I knew everything about it already. I listened to it so much that I kind of already knew the whole show. And so it's funny that, but again, that's because it was made a thing back when I was growing up. So, talking about how they're going to redo it now, this is exactly why is, you get the next generation to, you go watch a show like this, tying in the older Disney songs in a country style into it is really a smart way to do that because it brings people in. If you listen to a lot of those songs in the original, it's what is this? I've never, I don't know where this came from or right. It's very weird and obscure. This makes it a little more mainstream. And then the other thing I thought about too is, since they're reimagining this, we've talked previously about animatronics and how good they've gotten in the last couple of years. I don't want to assume that they're going to do this, but there's definitely potential that you will get whole new animatronics in this attraction. So, and I know it seems like not a big deal, but there is actually a lot of movement in the Country Bears Jamboree. Like there's a lot of stuff.
I feel like the old school animatronics are kind of part of the charm.
Well, some of them, yes, but I think they, again, they can still recreate that to a certain degree, but then they can go even further with it, right?
Yeah, no,
because that's just how Imagineering works. So the more I think about it, like we said earlier, this is really the best case scenario, because they're going to keep it as Country Bear, so it's still going to be the recognized park IP that we all know, but it's going to have a new flair to it. It's going to have something that maybe that the younger audience identifies with a little better, or that families can just attach to it better, that when you leave, it's something that you're thinking about versus like I guess the problem with it right now is it's like even if you went and watched it, it kind of gets forgotten amongst all the other amazing stuff there, right? So hopefully this brings it back into like I don't mind stopping in there and watching the show, but it's definitely been lower on the priority list, and this should hopefully bring it back up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, now, okay. I care about Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah, I care about it too.
I absolutely care about Hatbox Ghost because it's a huge part of Disney history.
It is. I mean, listen, it's coming late November. We don't need to go over the details. They just announced it's coming in late November. So I think that's all we need to announce with that, right?
I will keep riding Haunted Mansion and I will enjoy it. And if people want to miss out on it, that's your choice.
Yep. Pirates of the Caribbean theme lounge coming to Adventureland. Damon talked about this a little bit. It says the first of its kind experience, so I don't know what that means. I've been to lounges before. What exactly is going to make it first of its kind? I would like to know. Are there going to be pirates walking around? That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But
I'm fully expecting that. The concept art from it shows it. It's like the parrot pulling back the curtain, and you can see the pirates in there like partying. It very much gives like when they were in Tortuga in the movie, in the first Pirates movie, very like rowdy and kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be something like that. Like it's the hard part is that they'll have to keep it family friendly,
of course. Yeah.
But I think what I feel they're going to do is, like you said, it's going to be something with pirates, like all the cast members, and there will be pirates, behaving as such and all that. And I could see it being something where, kind of like going to Trader Sam's, how you get.
That's what I was kind of just thinking, where they're part of the show, the servers and the bartenders. Yeah.
Yeah. And like in Trader Sam's, when people like order certain things, you get like you get different experiences going off in the space. Right. So I'm imagining it as something where you're fully immersing yourself in the concept of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I agree.
Like to that point, we haven't really had anything like that in the park.
Yeah, and also they teased the return of the the Barker bird that's in the concept art. So used to be outside the attraction.
That's true. Yeah.
So
yeah.
So this should be cool.
All right.
Should be interesting. All right, let's talk about a couple other things quickly here. We're like way out of time. So Ahsoka's going to be in Star Tours. Okay, cool, great.
that was probably the least exciting thing I saw, because it's like Star Tours is kind of like, okay, like all right, so it'll be like a scene with Ahsoka or something.
Yeah, great. Okay. Yeah,
I
think one of the more interesting things here. They've been talking about this e-ticket attraction that's going to be at the Marvel land. I'm just going to call it Marvel Land. That's a California adventure, right? Or is that it? No, that's at Disneyland, isn't it?
No, it's in California Adventure.
It is. I was right. Okay.
Yeah. The Avengers Campus is in California Adventure.
Yes. So Avengers Campus. That's the word I was looking for, right? So they've been talking about this e-ticket attraction. I mean, I feel like I haven't heard anything in a long time. But so basically they're giving us a first look at what they're calling a new world jumping vehicle that's going to be at this attraction. And listen, the concept art looks extraordinarily cool, right? They're saying it's a ride vehicle featuring a design that combines elements of Tony Stark's time suits with Xandarian jump points and Wakandan technology. Interestingly, Trevor, when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be a trackless ride. But now I'm thinking about it, like, you can't really do the jump point thing with a trackless ride, right? Like, it just wouldn't work. I mean,
the thing that I keep going back to is the Guardians ride in Epcot.
That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be a roller coaster. Like, that's what I'm kind of feeling, right?
Yeah.
Or something totally new that we've never seen before. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but I wonder, because the Xandarian jump points, I feel like that's them, like how they did it in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to be the same kind of thing they did there.
Maybe they'll finally use that patent that we talked about like years ago, where they have like a where they have like a ride vehicle that hangs from the ceiling and can like swing back and forth, and like it's on a track up from the ceiling. Like, wouldn't that be cool if they finally did that? Because they talked about using that for like a Spider-Man ride where you're like, going through the city. But like, I feel like you could use that. Yeah. I feel like they could use that in this case, right?
The hard part about this is, like you said, looking at the concept art, it literally looks like a spaceship flying through a wormhole, which is like, okay, what, like, so the ride will look like that, but what are we actually riding?
What are we riding? Yeah, like they didn't tell us that. So yeah, so that's an interesting one. We're gonna find out more about that. I think I mentioned this, right? So they just teased a little bit about. They didn't talk, interestingly, right? So like last D23, they talked about the Beyond Big Thunder Mountain thing, right? But they didn't show us anything about that this time, right? They just kind of talked about it, and they said that it's going to be similar in scale to things like Galaxy's Edge and Pandora, but they said it's going to be the biggest expansion of Magic Kingdom ever, which is, exciting. But we don't really know anything about it. But according to, like, when Bruce came in, he kind of was like, this was my first thing that I worked on when I got here. So that to me tells me he came in and was like, we need to start over, right? Like I was talking about.
Well, and if it was the first thing, that means that it's definitely big.
Yeah, it's
like
big. It's going to be big. Yeah.
Whatever this is. And he said it, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be on the same scale as Galaxy's Edge. So we're getting a new land of some sort. The hard part is like I said, this is what I said earlier, is that they're announcing this now. We're not going to see it for 5 years.
At least. Yeah, at least.
So it's hard to visualize what that means. And I'm also kind of glad they didn't hint anything else about it, because I would rather be oblivious and just, going to Disney World as like, same old, which is not a bad thing. Like, going for the rides that I know and love. And then in a couple of years, all of a sudden being like, oh, there's this whole new land opening up.
Yeah.
Like I would rather that and kind of go in there. But I guess this also speaks to me, like me, that, I don't like spoilers in general.
Yeah, I know.
So, I kind of want to be hit in the face with whatever it is. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing that they're not showing their whole hand immediately, because there's enough to think about before then. Like all these other things that we've talked about, I'm looking forward to experiencing these things when I go in February, because most of them will be available by the time I'm there in February, which for me personally, I'm there for the experiences. I'm there for more than just the rides.
Agreed.
And that's not to say that, I think Damon is all about the rides, and I know that, and that's fine. But I just want to be there.
I want to be there for the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so, I agree with you. I agree. So let's just jump ahead really quickly here. So we'll cover these two things quick, because I want to give us some time to talk about what's going on at Dinoland. So Zootopia is going to take over Tree of Life Theater and get rid of Bugs Life, which I think is a good change. Bugs Life terrifies children generally,
and my son
and my wife. So this means I actually will get to go and do this experience now once they finish this off. And truthfully, if you think about it, I think the current effects that they have, you can really still kind of use, like even like the little thing where there's like bugs crawling under your seat. Like they could still do that. They could do like
maybe
mice
like
or
the
something.
Hamsters or something. Because
yeah,
because they had that in Honey I Shrunk the Audience, where it was like the rats running through the audience, right?
Yeah. I think it's long over. I liked Zootopia a lot. I thought it was a good movie, and I think it's long overdue to have a bigger presence in the parks. So, I like this. I think it's a good change. And then Soarin' Over California is going to return to Epcot for a limited time for Disney 100 starting September 22nd, which, again, I love the original version, but I like the new version too. So, I would
take it where you can get it.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah,
I agree with you. I know everybody makes jokes about the messed up Eiffel Tower, but I don't know. I do like the original too, and I would be excited to go on this if I happen to be in the parks while it was still going.
You're gonna get that orange smell.
The orange smell. There's nothing better than the orange smell, my friend.
It's
nothing
so
better.
Good. Yeah.
Nothing better. So I think the big thing we'll end on here is because we're almost at 2 hours. So the big thing we want to
be a long.
we knew it was going to be a long one. So Walt Disney Imagineering is now planning to reimagine Dinoland U.S.A. at Animal Kingdom into a new land inspired by a region referred to as the Tropical Americas. So essentially, it's interesting, right? So, and I think this is also part of why they didn't share the plans for the Beyond Big Thunder Mountain thing, because originally in those plans was Encanto. Now Encanto has moved its way over to Animal Kingdom, which makes me think that Encanto has been removed from the Magic Kingdom plans. But why I'm actually way more okay with this replacing Dinoland than I was with the Moana Zootopia one, which felt more forced. This doesn't feel as forced to me. And the reason
it doesn't at all.
It doesn't, right? Because like if you look at Animal Kingdom as a park, they have lands that represent countries, right? Or continents, right? Mm-hmm. So they have Africa, they have Asia, right? So now they're going to do like this tropical, like South America one, right? Which if you look at the concept art, they did kind of what they do in Asia and Africa, right? Where they make these really unique, like authentic places to the areas, right? Like they're making a place that looks like South America with the architecture,
representative of that region.
And then they're infusing some IP into it, right? And I'm okay with that because why I love Animal Kingdom is because when you walk through that Africa section, you feel like you could actually be in Africa, right? Like the authenticity of those lands are incredible. The details are incredible. So if they do the same thing in this area, this is like the Moana thing and the Zootopia thing. Sure, you could make it kind of fit because there was the ocean and then there was zoo animals. Okay, fine. This to me is like they're building another continent or another country, and then they're putting some of the IP that fits within that. And the interesting thing I think about this, right? So they talked about Indiana Jones. They didn't say what they were going to do with Indiana Jones, but they said they were going to put Indiana Jones in there. But on the WDW Magic did a GIF, right, of going back and forth between an overhead view. It overlaid an overhead view,
Dinoland versus this concept art,
versus concept art, right? And it is very clear when you look at that the entrance for Dinosaur changes into an ancient temple, right? Which to me, like, it's very clear, right? So to me, Dinosaur is numbered. Its days are numbered, right? Like it's going to turn into Indiana Jones. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to copy the version from Disneyland or if they're going to build something new and like just make an Indiana Jones theme to tell a new story, which I think would be ideal. I would love if they did something new there. But to me, if you look at that concept art, it is very clear that that's going to become Indiana Jones.
I guess go look up the entrance to Temple of the Forbidden Eye.
Yeah, it's that.
It's
literally that. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's like in my head, I go, okay, yeah, they're going to replace Dinosaur with Indiana Jones. And again, this is all, so we're all saying this, keep in mind, purely speculation, but,
educated
speculation. just doing a 1-to-1 replacement with Indiana Jones. That is definitely the easy route. It's an easy redo of the ride because they already have all the pre-existing stuff in Disneyland. It's very easy to do a copy paste there. And the bonus of doing that is that it's, to people in Florida or, people going to Disney World may not have experienced the one in Disneyland, which is a very different experience from Dinosaur. Like the thing about dinosaurs, it's very closed in.
And it's in the dark, completely.
Yeah. Well, so is Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is in the dark too, but there's a lot more wide open spaces, and it does have a lot more impressive feel to it. The hard part, I think, for some people will be getting over that. Well, it's just the same ride. Yes, I mean it makes sense to me that they wouldn't go and completely nuke the track for no reason. Because if they were going to, if they were going to do this, like keep the ride the same, because that's half of the. It makes it easier for them to get this out quicker. Is what the reality is that, if they're redoing this entire land, it's one less attraction that they technically have to worry about because they don't have to build it all from scratch. Right.
And they'll change all the bumps and everything, right? Like you won't get the same bumps. They'll change it.
So the funny thing about Indiana Jones is that when you ride it, it does not feel the same. Even though I know it's the same track as Dinosaur feels different.
Okay.
I cannot. I mean, I guess I've never sat and watched two videos side by side, but when I ride them, I can't be like, oh, this, I know where this turn is in Indy, right? Like it doesn't feel the same. So I think it'll be different enough that people will appreciate it.
Well, the other part of it though too, Trevor, is I won't take my daughter on Dinosaur because I feel like she'll have nightmares for the rest of her life, right?
Well, but Indy would.
I don't think Indy would be as bad. I've watched videos of Indy. It doesn't feel as scary as a giant dinosaur coming at your face.
I don't know. There's a lot more stuff to.
Well, there's the boulder. Yeah, I know. There's I've watched the videos of it, but it doesn't feel like, I don't know. There's something about dinosaurs, about the animals that would, I feel like, disturb my daughter forever. And my sister won't do Dinosaur either because it scares her. So
to be fair, the first time I took my son on Indy when he was tall enough to get on there, he was young enough that he said something to the effect of he thought that the back of our Jeep got crushed by the boulder.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
We should also mention though too, right? So it's not just Indy, right? So they also have the casita from Encanto,
Casita
right?
Madrigal. Yeah. So I thought of something. I was thinking about what Damon said earlier about how it doesn't fit in Animal Kingdom, or how does that fit in Animal Kingdom? I mean, you have the casita. You could do a petting zoo with Antonio's room.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because Antonio's is there animals in it? Absolutely, because Antonio's whole thing is talking to animals, right?
Yeah,
and then so it's not that hard to put it in there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So the thing I took away from the concept art, and I said this in the Discord, right? If you look at where they put the casita and you look at where it is, right? It's basically where Primeval World was, right?
Yeah.
And because of that area backs up to a backstage area, right? So to me, and if you look at the concept art too, tons of tall trees around the casita, right? So for me, that tells me some sort of ride where they're going to build a large show building in the backstage area. And it's going to be some sort of big attraction with Encanto. Mm-hmm. And, because typically tall trees in Disney means hiding show buildings, right? Like that's what they do, except at EPCOT where they don't seem to care. But everywhere else, they try to hide show buildings with tall trees.
You can't get trees tall enough to hide Guardians.
There's nothing that could hide Guardians ever in the history of man. So,
but yeah, you're right though about the casita. Yeah, where it's positioned, very much there is potential there for very large space. But again, that it doesn't even have to be that big of a space. It's just there is something to be said, like looking at this concept art, giving that feel of walking into the movie and walking up to these set pieces. That is as much important as the rides. Like not everyone necessarily feels that way about it, but I've been to Radiator Springs, and there's nothing like walking into Radiator Springs. For anyone that has walked in there, what I'm talking about. I feel like, Disney, and, again, back to what you were saying earlier about, with Imagineering and all that, they're not just looking at pumping out the next ride or, getting the next thing going. Like these are going to be experiences. It's going to be like you want it to be something like for you, Tom, you want to walk in there with your daughter.
Yeah.
And you want her to feel like she's in Encanto.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't do this. It looks fantastic. It looks like somewhere I want to be.
Yeah. The concept art's incredible, and it's not, it's that this is why I like it, right? Because if you look at it, and listen, we don't have details, right? But like, it doesn't really look like the Encanto movie. Right? Like it looks like a place you'd see in South America. That's what it looks like. And it just happens to have that casita there, right? Like it's got kind of that theme to it. They're not trying to build the town where Encanto takes place there, right?
It feels like the front courtyard where Encanto takes place. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of like sectioned off. Like it's just that piece of it. But I feel like just walking into that would be impressive.
No, I agree.
And like with the mount, like because they also have like the mountain in the background too.
They
right?
do, yeah, they do,
yeah,
they do. So yeah,
again, hiding stuff,
hiding show buildings, right? So, but yeah, I mean, like to me, this is, I mean, I tend to think like I said this theory on the Discord. I think that they are going to build a trackless ride that takes you on a tour through the Madrigal house, because if you remember from the rooms they don't the laws of physics do not apply to the Madrigal casita, right? So so you can go really deep into these rooms and you could make these
Bruno's room, Isabella's room, Antonio's rooms are all in the movie, and then I mean you don't even see Luis's room.
No. I mean, I'm sure they can come up with that. And look, if you look at the concept art, there's a path that goes up to the house. Like you could see almost where they'd have a queue on the outside here, like up to the house. And then, maybe you enter through the house and that's when you get on the ride, wherever that might be. And it also kind of looks like there's this gazebo here that maybe has like a carousel or something in it. I don't know.
Yeah, but I noticed that because I mean, that would kind of replace the Triceratops spin. Yeah. Although Triceratops, or no, I guess that's kind of where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Ish. Yeah. Yeah. Generally. Yeah. It's like right in front there. So yeah, this concept art looks fantastic. And I truly believe that this is why they didn't talk about the Beyond Big Thunder thing, because,
this is the next thing first.
Yeah. They moved a lot of the concept for, Encanto over here. So now what are they going to put in Magic Kingdom? They're not still going to do Encanto at Magic Kingdom,
Yeah.
So,
which it's, because like they said in the announcement, how they kind of like reset on stuff.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I feel like it's a priority thing. And again, I'm just the more that we're talking about this, and I know we're at time here,
we're way over. Yeah.
But I feel like, that they assessed, Dinoland and Beyond Big Thunder. And the thing about Dinoland is that it's a lot less work to get it to the place where they want it.
Sure.
Because part of it's really shut down. Like, Dino World's shut down. They've already got the track in place for Indy at this point. And so that's a lot easier for them to do quickly, or, quickly reimagine that. And it gives them time for the bigger projects. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to think that this Animal Kingdom redo is probably a bigger priority than the Magic Kingdom one. Just my guess, because they just got so much dead space in here. Like, I can't tell you how sad it was to go to Dinoland the last time and just see just a whole big empty parking lot basically in it. Like where Primeval World used to be. It's just kind of sad.
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, Animal Kingdom it has some good stuff, but it's like once you kind of get past the good stuff, it's like you turn the corner, and like you said, like even, I remember getting off Everest the last time we were there, and it was like, yeah, we did Everest, and we actually cut through Dinoland, and it was kind of a like, oh, well, anyway, like you didn't even really want to look at it because it's not in good shape right now.
No, listen, I think Animal Kingdom could also use some new attractions as well. I think that would be, last thing they did basically was Avatar, right? So, it's not that old, but I think they could freshen things up a little bit,
Here's something to think about too, that Damon did touch on this earlier, that, Animal Kingdom, although a lot of its focus is on animals, it's not just a park about animals. So I almost wonder if there's something else they should call it besides Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Just kind of a bit of an aside because of, stuff like this that they're doing. Like, yeah, they're representing, different, areas in the world and stuff, but, I mean, it's not a zoo either. Like, we know that.
Yeah,
it definitely has.
Zoo. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has, a lot of stuff that a zoo would have, but the focus is not entirely on animals. So
it's on conservation. It's on our relationship with the earth. It's on, there's a lot of that stuff there. I mean, it's there's a lot of interesting themes there, but
yeah, but just like this last announcement, just makes me think about if there's a better name for Animal Kingdom, but I don't know what it would be.
I don't know what it would be either. Right. Yeah.
I'll leave that there.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up on that. We went for a whole 2 hours, which I don't think we've done in a long time. So.
Yeah, but we don't get D23 every weekend either.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. So,
all right. Or anything else before I start to wrap up?
Nah, let's wrap this thing up. We're way over time.
Yeah, we're good. All right. So as usual, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. You can send us questions there like one of our listeners did earlier. And, we do love hearing from you guys. So, that's always a great place to get a hold of us. If you want to talk to us on social media, you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast. And you can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. On Facebook, we do have the Welcome Home Disney waitlist, which is a great group that, a lot of the stuff we talked about here, you'll see people talking about it in the Facebook group. If you wanted to join the group and see what the conversation is, I highly recommend it. It's also, we have a lot of really good experts in that group and people that will share their own experiences. So if you're doing any kind of Disney planning for yourself, you kind of owe it to yourself to come and check out our group. So, just do that. If you want to help support the show, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out our different merchandise that we have there. Speaking of the store, I don't know if we have we have some new shirts coming, or people are aware, but I don't know if they're ready yet. So,
yeah, I don't know. I thought Damon was putting them up, but I don't know if he did or not. So
yeah, so there will be a golden button shirt available. So keep an eye out for that. And we are also we're going to have some new stuff coming beyond that as well. That we'll maybe do some teasers for here in the next little while when we get closer to that. But even if, or even before that, if you want a t-shirt for your next trip or stuff like that, please check out the store, because, anything you buy in the store, it just goes towards helping us continue to run the show as we have been. In that same vein, if you prefer Patreon as a means to support content creators, you can go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod. Check out our different levels of support on Patreon. They all come with exclusive merchandise that you can only get through Patreon, and it also gets you access to the Discord server, which, as we talked about, we have lots of great discussions on there about things like D23 and again, more people that love sharing stuff, and we just all love talking about Disney. So check that out if it's something you want to do. So and beyond that, if you are on iTunes or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review to help other people find the podcast. It is very important because of the way things work. We don't show up in searches as easily if people aren't giving us those reviews. So, if you like the show enough, give us a review on iTunes. If you want, you can write us a review, which people do from time to time, and we do read them out on the show. So, we do always appreciate that.
I don't think I read this one. This is from a few months ago, but it says, new favorite podcast, 5 stars. I enjoy listening to these guys talk about Disney. They are very knowledgeable and fun to listen to. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, another important thing you can do, and something that would really help us out, is to subscribe to the podcast. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube Music, YouTube. You can find us pretty much everywhere. Just search for Welcome Home and you'll find us, and you can listen to us there. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So, please consult a DVC representative or, Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to our sponsor of this episode, DVC Rental Store, for sponsoring this episode, and also, World of DVC for being continuous supporters of this show. We really appreciate them, so please go check them out for all your DVC needs. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl, eating